I can't remember the specifics, but I was reading Eugene Gendlin's Focusing again a while ago, and one of the things that stuck with me, and I'm going to paraphrase a bunch, is the idea of how someone else can help you while you're figuring stuff out within yourself verbally by talking about how you're feeling. Someone else can guide you towards useful questions and guide you away from like distractions or things that are unproductive. And I was fascinated by that. I've been wanting to revisit it and maybe write something, and I guess I'm talking about it now, which is that how do you know when to continue a train of thought and when to stop? How do you know when you should start something and when you should stop, and when you should, cut off some particular pursuit of something versus to keep going? And as I say that now, I realize it's another version of like the explore/exploit conundrum, especially since we're always doing it without perfect knowledge, right? So you don't actually know if like you've been screwing around for a couple of hours and you haven't really gotten anything out of it, but maybe the next hour might yield something, dramatic and life-changing or something, right? Like and this really applies in all domains. Like imagine you're out drinking with a bunch of friends and you're not really having fun anymore. Should you leave? I would say, okay, I'm like setting up this kind of fake or thought experiment type question, but I'm jumping ahead to my conclusion, which is something like, or to my perceived conclusion, which is something like, you should quit when it's time to quit, when you're not feeling good anymore. Like you should change something. And yeah, I guess that probably answers the question, but I still want to go in circles around this a bit more. Like, how do you know when to start something? How do you know when to stop? Even with this video that I'm making right now, how did I know I wanted to start it? I'm going for a walk with my son, and I guess I have a bit of a routine. Hey baby, I have a bit of a routine where I do this, and it's familiar and it's easy. And when do I stop? I'm going for a walk and I'm gonna end up at a destination, and if I'm done when I reach or before I reach, I guess it'll probably stretch out until I get there. If I have more to say when I'm there, I might go in circles a little bit and start wrapping up. But so that's me using my context as a container, right? And I've been thinking a lot lately about structures and containers, and like what is protocols, right? Like what is a date? What is a work session? What is, how do you do things, right? Really, that's really what I'm asking. How do you do things? How do you know when to start a work session of any kind? Like let's say you're building a house, right? And again, there you navigate by constraints, right? So like, we'll work during the day when it's not so hot until we're kind of tired before it gets too dark. Like there are all these outward contextual constraints. You don't want to work in the dark because then you might like not see things and get hurt or whatever. But if you're in a rush and you have strong artificial lighting and shit, then that's a constraint you can potentially work around. But you don't want to be working or have your workers working when people are fatigued, because then you start making stupid mistakes and people get hurt. But even then, like, what are your constraints? Because if you have a lot of people and only one house that you're building, then you can cycle a fresh crew every X many hours, assuming you have the resources to have that much of a crew. So your constraints are your resources and what your objective is. Yeah, another thing I was watching a video of somebody playing StarCraft, like going through the campaign missions, and there are moments where you're playing a mission and the objective is to get someone to some point. And when that's your objective, you don't have to care about everything else. You can be like, well, I'm going to sacrifice all these other units, I'm going to sacrifice all these other buildings or whatever. And you actually can end up saving a lot of time if you want to do it fast and you're willing to. I was going to say cut corners, but is it cutting corners if the corners are not relevant to the product? You know what I mean? Or relevant to the mission. And that's the thing I'm trying to make sense of for myself, which is like, what corners am I preserving that I don't actually need to be? And in the context of like making content to publish online, whether it's YouTube videos or Substack essays, which is my main challenge for the past couple of years now, it's like, would it be nice if I could upload something very polished and beautiful and, you know, kind of well thought out every week? That would be nice. Do I have the resources to do it? No. Do I have the time and energy to do it? No. So what? Do I spend months and months making one good video? And what if, you know, that's the thing. If you were certain that it would be good, it might be worthwhile. But how do you know? So I don't know. And if I spend months and months on something and I think it's good, but nobody actually cares, that feels like a waste of time. Whereas if I do these kind of quick sketch 5 minute, 6 minute while I'm on a walk anyway kind of videos, if people like it, I might build on that into something else. If people don't like it, who gives a shit? You know, I'm just saying words anyway. So it's low effort, low cost. Yeah, so those are just some of my random rambly thoughts about context, constraints, starting and stopping, resource management, project management. We're done. See you later.